Hi guys, welcome to Pixel. Well, not the Pixel Gun 3. Welcome to Hurricane Outbreak, because the servers are unavailable. I haven't made a video in so long. No. I haven't made a video in so long. So today we're going to be doing the missions of the category 2, and then afterward I will record Sliverio and upload that one. Let's just do one quick free play. Sounds. Okay. Let's move faster. Okay. So, my entire goal is to make sure we hit America as a category 2 or higher. I wish we could choose your starting location. However, they haven't updated this game since July. And also, if you're wondering, I haven't been uploading because I just, not that I don't have time, just that I don't want to. To be fair, when I said one video a week, I said at least one video a week. However, that wasn't really a promise, which is kind of wrong because I am a good YouTuber. I at least make some content while others don't. And when I do want to record, it doesn't record. So, yeah. And to be fair, I always like think if you don't upload a video, right, you're basically putting yourself up. Because you make good content, right? It may not necessarily be good content, but you do your best. I just realized we're destroying the. You always do your best when you make videos. You may not have the best edits, which is a stone cold fact. Other than that, okay. Let's go for Georgia. And then when I keep going, let's slow it down. We're destroying the space coast of the United States. Now, to all my viewers at school, you guys are good viewers if you watch the videos. Even when I don't upload, I'm happy when you guys watch the videos and leave comments. Like, I know very few people, like only one person leaves a comment. It's either I leave a comment or somebody else does. But one comment makes me happy. It shows me that I at least connected to one person, Like, when you don't upload, if you just connect to one person, that's pretty good. In my eyes, just connecting to at least one person is one of the best things you could ever do. If you could socialize with people, in a way that makes them happy, I would do that. Obviously, I am quite annoying in some parts, but hey, this channel may be small now, but sometime in the future, it might be able to rival PewDiePie one day. You never know. And my future self, if I keep uploading, is probably looking back on myself like, oh, this man is trash. He doesn't have any edits. He's not being funny. But to be honest, things change as you go. You know, as you grow up, things change a lot. When you grow up, a lot of things change. Life sometimes gets more boring, or it gets more fun. You get to start your own business, or you turn homeless. Now, okay, hit the Bahamas with a category 1. So basically, I have to destroy the Bahamas, basically. However, this is not a good spot to destroy them from. It's actually a kind of bad spot. This is a bad spot to attack them. It's actually a really bad spot because it's not that. This isn't really. Oh, we also have to make landfall provinces. Oh. Like, you guys also may notice that I keep flickering this down. And you guys may be wondering why I keep doing this. Well, I need to check if if the video is still recording, number 1. If it's not recording, that is a bad sign, because I always need to look at it. So then I know if it just stops, which occasionally it does. I know. It does it especially with Pixelgun 3D, I notice. Because I guess because of the internet thing. You know. That's just how it is. But the internet may say it's good, but that's just how close the connection is. That's not really how close it actually is. Because if you play games enough, you learn, but you don't learn. You learn as you go on with games. Games are fun, but if you keep playing the same game over and over again, you get burnt out. And the people start watching the same thing over and over again, they get burnt out. Like let's say you like macaroni and cheese, right? Let's say that. If you like macaroni and cheese, if you keep eating the same thing, and you're already full, you're not going to eat more of it, right? That's just human psychology. You don't eat, like when you have had enough of something, like when you're full, you're not really full. It's just that your interest in it has gone down. Like I could say my interest in certain things has gone down significantly. School, my interest was actually as high as in elementary school, but no longer. So we're gonna finish the category 2, and then we're gonna end the video. However, don't think I'm just gonna end the video I'm just gonna end the video like I usually do. So I have to become a cat to hit 3 areas with it and cause at least 1 death. Yeah, that shouldn't be too hard. That really should not be too hard. But yet again, it is me who I'm talking to. I always notice about hurricanes, like, YouTube free play. You always start in like whatchamacallit. Always start East of the Caribbean. I want to where like you get to choose where you start on the map. However, there are certain areas where you can't choose because hurricanes don't form in those areas. Like, to be fair, if you're in the middle of the Atlantic, yes, you can form. However, I want like things like whatchamacallit, those mid-latitude storms that come down and bring those troughs that like sweep you away. You know, like you should have independent movement. However, that's based on your storm structure. Wow, that's how it should be. If you start wobbling, like hurricanes in real life do this when they start getting to a certain intensity, they start replacing their eye walls, and they also start to wobble. So you should still have this independent movement, right? However, if there's like a bigger weather system than you, like if there's another hurricane on the map, which there should be, then what should happen is that you will be swinging around the hurricane, and whoever is stronger, if they are the same length, they will keep dancing around each other. Same strength, they will dance around each other. However, if one is weaker than the other, the weaker one will get pulled in and wrapped into the bigger one. They won't grow stronger, however, the storm that got sucked in will disappear. However, the storm that sucked it up will get stronger a little bit. All clouds will have gone straight into the storm. Like, that's how I think it should work. It shouldn't always work like that, though. I have to commit 2,000 flood. I thought that it was lower, but then I realized, these numbers are actually quite high. But thank God Florida is like our saving grace because they don't prepare. Like, there's just so much to do. Like, I completed all these scenarios before, but however, I have to give you like a brief. I have to like give you a good view of how this game is. It's a good game. Don't get me wrong. It's actually an excellent game. Let's speed this up because we moving way too slow, and this video about to take way too long. But to be honest with you, if there was like in this game is actually is good. It's one of the only hurricane games that actually kind of makes sense, except for the fact that you have independent movement. That's about it, and you get to speed up on your own terms. But that's what makes this game fun. However, I want it to be a little bit more realistic. Because, let's think about it. If you have like a storm, and it has independent movement, it could go basically anywhere. However, in real life, that's not the case. Most hurricanes go from east to west, and they start going north in the northern hemisphere, and they go south in the southern hemisphere. That's just how it works. They don't go toward the equator most of the time, unless like something bring them down. Like, for example, if you have like a cold front during the summer, if you guys haven't noticed it, when you have a cold front that comes down into the southern United States during late spring into early summer, or into late summer and early fall, what you tend to notice, what happens, is that the storms tend, and I mean this, they tend to whatchamacallit, how do you explain it? Whole front, there's two wind directions on it. It's obvious because one is coming from the north or from the south if you're in the southern hemisphere, and the other one comes from the south or the north, and one comes from the equator, basically. So you might get a rotation on the whatchamacallit, you might get a rotation on the front, and if it turns stationary and the main system is pulled away far enough and the wind shear is low enough, you could get a hurricane like that. Not a hurricane, but you might get a tropical storm that forms, and You might get a hurricane. It's not definite. It's actually fairly unlikely, but you will definitely get a tropical storm if it starts rotating there. Like a good example of a hurricane that just popped out of nowhere is actually whatchamacallit, Hurricane Barry this year when it happened in July. What happened with it is that it was a thunderstorm complex up in whatchamacallit. It was a thunderstorm complex in Missouri in the plains. But what had happened is that it came down into the south and went into the Gulf. A high pressure had formed over the south and it steered it over the Gulf of Mexico. And then it started to develop. It didn't turn into like a good looking hurricane, however it still did enough to like do some damage. Like it did just enough. Like it turned into a hurricane that like never came back. And then actually ironically, when it hit the west side of Louisiana, when it hit the west side of Louisiana, it actually weakened, but however, it went over the same spot it was like a few days ago. It's like a thunderstorm complex. It's amazing how you think about it. And just imagine, if you were on this map, however, you weren't the only hurricane on this map, there was like multiple. There are like multiple storms. Sometimes you get spawned by yourself. Sometimes you get spawned by yourself with plenty of energy. However, if you get spawned by yourself, it tells you, oh, the environment is very hostile. However, there's a lot of hurricanes. It doesn't show that. It basically says, it's basically saying to you, if there's a lot of storms and they're doing well, that means there's no wind shear. However, behind those storms, there are just wind shear. So I don't think most of you guys realize this, and this is like an educational lesson that you really don't really want to hear, and I understand that. But like, think about it. A hurricane like does a lot of things. Actually, I need to get to the beginning of the Atlantic at this rate. I actually need to get to the beginning of the ocean if I actually want to do anything. But like, think about it. When you have a hurricane, it develops, yes, but it needs to breathe. It needs to let whatever is near it go out. Whatever is it, when it goes to the center, the air in the center is sinking. The air around the center is the eye, and that's rising. So that energy, once it gets into the storm and turns to the clouds, it has to go somewhere. And you always notice it when you see a hurricane on a map. These outer bands, yes, but then you see the outer bands, yes, that's the storm. But then you see these like outflow channels. And then if you have two of those, yeah, it's saying that you're gonna have the bad time. But like the storm's actually breathing. If the storm, for example, only has one outflow channel, that's good for it. However, it has two, it could breathe fairly easily. So the south side gets drained, has its energy moved away, and like the north side, its energy moved away. And that's not saying wind shear. However, they create their own wind shear in a way, because when they pass, their outflow channels is where they produce wind shear. But they still need a little bit of it. That's what I'm talking about. They still need wind shear so they could blow away some of the storms, so not too much of it gets concentrated. Because if too much of it gets concentrated, well, you know what happens. A storm topples on itself. And storms topple on themselves over and over again. And it's not like, they just do it. They topple on themselves because they're kind of weak. just think about it. Storms topple themselves over. Storms, if they don't have warm air feeding them, if they don't have anything that feeds them, they start dying. But here's one fascinating thing about that. It's actually not that fascinating, but it's actually very still fascinating. That when you look at a storm, like any storm, like let's just take the regular rainstorm that you see. That rain is coming from somewhere else. And in our case, in the eastern United States, it's coming from the Atlantic Ocean. However, more specifically, it's coming from the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. And some of it comes out the Pacific Ocean, but that's besides the point. As that doesn't really happen too often. But let's just say that it was that way. You know? Storms need something to live. Like a storm just can't exist. Like when you see a high pressure, you think, oh, that means it's gonna be sunny weather and it's gonna be beautiful, right? But there's a point to that. If you're in a dry area, right, and you haven't had a rain for a while, if it's sunny and it's dry, right, and let's say, and it depends what season it is. If it's the middle of winter, that doesn't really matter because you could get snow still. However, if it's the middle of summer and it's hot and it's sunny and dry, chances are you're not going to have a good time. Because think about it. They're not really going to have a good time. Because the ground will burn up, and then you get these wildfires like you see in California all the way over there. And we always say, oh, well, sunny weather is nice. Well, yes, rainy weather is also. However, it's a balancing act. You need both. If you have one but not the other, like you need rain. Like there's no question, you need rain to have a good to have a good ecosystem. It needs rain. Like the desert doesn't receive a lot of rain, but it still receives rain. It doesn't get a lot of it, but it still has it. But rain is important. Not too much of it, as too much rain also kills crops as it prevents them from breathing. But rain helps animals survive. It's one of the things we need to live. We just need it in general. It's actually probably one of those science projects though. Because it's something that a person needs to live. It's not something where it's like, oh, I don't need rain. We don't need rain to live. But in reality, think about it. Look at the struggling countries. And this is kind of off topic, but look at them. They don't really have the infrastructure. Like Iraq's infrastructure was there to purify water, but they have two problems with it. Number one, their infrastructure has been destroyed by wars. And number two, even if they did, get all the water, even if they did have the rivers not dying, their infrastructure is destroyed, so they can't purify it. It's like the cities the further you go down the Tigris and the Euphrates, the water is less and less, and it's also more toxic. However, Iraq doesn't control its own water. Syria, Turkey, and Iran controls the water. At one point, ISIS controlled the water. At one point, so the cities that were pro-government didn't get water, and the cities that were not pro-government got water. That's just how it was. They also put oil in the water, so it kind of makes sense. You need rain, and Iraq doesn't really receive rain because it's in the middle of the desert. is actually in the middle of two big deserts. There's the desert from Iran eastward is not as dry because they still get snow in the mountains. It actually gets really cold in Iran where sometimes entire villages freeze over. And the mountains. Like that's just how bad it gets. But it isn't a bad, you know. Okay, we have an ad. So guys, we are at the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed. Also, I hope I taught you a life lesson on how it is. So I hope you're happy. So I'll see you guys next time.